which
to the
stands,
republic for which it stands,
One
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and
indivisible,
justice for all.
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Madam Secretary, can you please call the roll?
Already done.
We did roll.
Oh, we did roll, so I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Just following.
That's okay.
I got a little ahead of myself. Okay.
That's okay.
Salute done. Okay, so I'd like to open the meeting for public comment. Do we have any public comment or comment cards that anybody sent in?
We do not.
Non-agenda items.
We do not at this time.
Okay, great. May I have the next item on the consent or on the calendar, please?
That would be the consent calendar approval of minutes for July 22nd.
Unless someone has any changes, I move approval of the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Flowers,
Yes.
Commissioner Lagomasino,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel is absent, Commissioner Van Duker,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheeler is absent, Chair Schaefer.
Yes.
Minutes passed.
We have the next item, please.
Public hearing. There is no public hearing.
We have the next item, please.
Regular calendar, item 7A, disposition of property located at 6550 Ming Way. Adopt resolution number 2020-07, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Citrus Heights, California, adopting its report and certain findings required under California Government Code Section 65402, the disposition of property located at 6550 Ming Way. Project planner Casey Kempinar.
Thank you, Stacy, Chair and Planning Commission. Can you all hear me okay and see my screen before I
Yes.
get started? Okay, good. That's a good start. As Stacy mentioned, this hearing tonight is to allow, one of the first steps to allow the transfer of the Sayonara Park over to the Sunrise Recreation Park District. So those of you that have driven down Sayonara are familiar with the park. It's next to the community center that we have here on Ming Way. It is an active park with a variety of different uses on it. So there's a bit of a history about the park. In 2008, during their session, the redevelopment agency purchased this property as well as several others along Sayonara Drive to demolish some buildings that were antiquated and not in good shape. And actually, I know this is an old photo because there's still houses there. So in 2012, the city constructed Sayonara Neighborhood Park. And then now here today, we're proposing to transfer that to Recreation Park District. But the Planning Commission's purview is finding that the property is consistent with the city's general plan. So disposing that will not be inconsistent with the general plan. So just showing you how it is consistent with the general plan. As you can see here, its land use designation is medium density residential, and medium density residential allows parks to be built in them. It's also consistent with the general plan goals, keeping open spaces and urban development with natural features for use and enjoyment, as well as providing supportive environment for youth and families, are just two of the goals, many goals that it complies with. And nothing's really going to change as a result of this action, other than Sunrise Recreation and Park District will be maintaining it and taking care of it. They're much more well-equipped to deal with that type of maintenance. They have the vehicles and staffing able to do that, where the city is kind of lacking that. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, the motion's on the screen.
So do we have any questions from the commissioner from commissioners for staff? Clarifying questions?
I have one question. This is Andrew. Is any money changing hands on this, or are we just deeding it like without a change of money from the park district?
The exact logistics are yet to be determined. So it may be a dollar or maybe nothing. We're not sure on that right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we are actively working on that deal. And then, if this resolution takes place, then we can go to the city council. But the negotiations are ongoing with regard to the contract of the transaction. And one other thing I wanted to add, just procedurally, which is a little bit unique tonight, since there's only 4 commissioners, you need a quorum to pass any resolution, which means that we would need a 4-0 vote to pass this resolution. So a 3-1 would not pass it, which is a little bit unique in the sense you think that's still a majority vote, but that would not be a full quorum.
Casey,
Sir.
this is Michael. I assume that the Recreation and Park District Board of Directors has given tentative approval to taking over this park.
That is my understanding, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that this wasn't going to be dropped on them.
It's been under discussion for
Okay.
quite a while.
Thank you. That's all I needed. And I do not have a copy of the resolution in front of me because I don't have any video on my screen. So I'm not sure what I didn't make a printout.
We'll read it for you. Would you like me
Okay.
to, should I read it, Ryan?
Anyway,
So the res-
Yes,
go
please.
ahead. I'll make the resolution or make the motion if you'll read it to me, please.
Sure. I wasn't, so I had an additional question. Just,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just
Go
want to
ahead.
make sure that I
I'll
was going
withdraw.
to, I was going to read it to you just in case you had any questions about how it's worded or it happens to jog any questions for you. So that I was just going to read it without the intention of accepting a motion at the moment.
Yeah, no, I've normally, if I knew I was going to have a blank screen, I would have printed everything out, but I didn't. So I had it for a minute and then it disappeared. Anyway, unless someone else would like to make the motion.
Did you have a question, Chair Schaefer?
No. Oh, yes, I had a question. Is there what does the city spend a year in maintenance costs for this park? And does the city contract the maintenance out, or is it actually done by city staff?
Stephanie Cotter would probably be better to answer those questions. I don't know if we have the exact dollar figure in front of us, but I also want to remind the commission that your purview is, does it comply with the general plan? We should probably avoid discussions of costs and other matters related to that.
Okay.
I can provide just a brief overview for your understanding. I'd be happy to do that. I don't have the exact number in front of me. We did go into a detailed cost benefit analysis with the Quality of Life Committee and staff, and the costs really change from year to year because it just depends on what needs to be repaired. Some years it's just the fence, some years it's the drinking fountain, and there's always certain costs like the property taxes, the water bills, the annual ADA inspections and improvements that have to be done to keep it up to ADA compliance. There's a lot of things, and because of the age of the park, it's starting to get to the point where things like the bottom, the surface needs to be replaced and really big pieces. And since we don't have redevelopment funding anymore, that's really what we used to use as our funding source when these things came up. And as far as the staff, it really depends on what it is that needs to be done. Some of the things we have to contract out because we can't do them in-house, and some of the other things we would try to do in-house. But the materials and everything else, of course, do cost money. So it depends on the circumstances and the costs vary. But given the loss of redevelopment agency and the fact that we can't use our other funding sources for regular maintenance, it's really become an issue in recent years for how to pay for it.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions or clarifying questions for staff from commissioners? Okay, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution number 2020, and I'll read it for the benefit of Commissioner Lagomashino. It's a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Citrus Heights, California, adopting its report and certain findings required under California Government Code Section 65402 for the disposition of the property located at 6550 Ming Way.
And I will then second the motion.
Thank you. Call the roll.
Item 7A, adopt a resolution 2020-07, disposition of property located at 6550 Ming Way. Commissioner Flowers,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel is absent. Commissioner Lagomasino,
Aye.
Commissioner Van Duker,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheeler is absent, and Chair Schaefer.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passed unanimously.
You have the next item, please.
Presentation from Citrus Heights Collaborative.
Yeah, I wanted to introduce Commission to the collaborative. We have a really good partnership with the various groups part of the collaborative, and they did a presentation for us at city staff not too long ago that was really interesting. I thought you would like to hear about the great things that they're doing. So with me here, we have Nicole Piva, who's from our housing division, as well as Stephanie Cotter from the housing division, as well as some of their guests from the collaborative. So I'll turn it over to Nicole to tell you all about it.
Great, thank you, Casey. I'm gonna pull up my PowerPoint. Okay, can everybody see that and hear me okay?
Yes, thank you. I can.
Okay, so good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Like Casey said, my name is Nicole Piva. I'm with the Housing and Grants Division. So I'm just here to give you an update about the collaborative and kind of let you know the things that they've done in the past and what we're doing in the future. Stephanie Cotter and I have been facilitating the collaborative. This is our third year, so we're very excited to be doing this. We work with a lot of the organizations and the nonprofits throughout our CDBG funding and our other funding as well. So the role of the collaborative, it acts as a clearinghouse for information or expansion of programs and services, serves as a place to share information among various local organizations. It serves as a bridge for communication to build relationships and partnerships. It really leverages everyone's strengths. When the collaborative was meeting once a month, connections were made at every meeting. It really helped with the services in our community and really connecting the residents with the services that are out there for them. It also serves as a review and advisory board to the council and to other advisory boards. The collaborative was established in 1999. Here are a few examples of projects that the collaborative has been involved in or has initiated over the years to really try to help with the quality of life in our community. And just to name a few of the projects that they've completed, the Healthy Cities Grant, they've hosted a town hall meeting with the county to really find about services and priorities in the community. Citrus Heights Youth Initiative, they were initial sponsorship of the All About Youth Zone at Sunday Fun Day, and strong partnership with the Sayonara area, and the Green Planning Academy Walkability Project. Over the years, the collaborative and its members have presented or have been involved and facilitated a number of workshops on a variety of different topics. These are a few of the workshops that the collaborative has presented, and not only the collaborative members, but also members from organizations and staff are able to attend these workshops. So just to name a few, culture of poverty, domestic violence, drug and gang violence, or Citrus Heights Police Department hosts this workshop. The Russian and Slavic cultures, homelessness, family violence, and elder abuse. And maybe some of you have remembered in the last year, we invited Kevin Bracey out to speak. He was a motivational speaker who really spoke about being one and really trying to collaborate and reaching that goal all together. The collaborative has many active members from a variety of different organizations. This table just includes a few. There's many longtime members, a few that I've invited here tonight to speak on behalf of the collaborative. So we'll be hearing from them in just a little bit. But the collaborative continues to grow. Currently, we have 68 members. And it's not just members from organizations. We're all nonprofits. There's some community members that attend our meetings. Before COVID, we were meeting once a month, and about 20 to 25 members would attend. And each month is a different topic. So at the end of the year in December, the collaborative had an annual planning meeting. And so we would plan for the following year. So each month would be a different topic. We would hear from different organizations on the services and the programs that they provide. And at those meetings is really where all the connections and the partnerships are made. We had our first virtual meeting on September 11th, and that went really well. So we're going to continue. Our next meeting is October 9th. So really anyone can join the collaborative. It's just really anyone who's interested in helping support and expand human and social services. So tonight I've invited a few of the members to speak. We have tonight with us Mary Poole. We have Leslie with SMUD and Artie with the San Juan School District. So I've asked them to kind of just, speak about their organization and tell us how they got involved in the collaborative and how the collaborative benefits the community. So with that, I'd like to invite Mary.
Thank you, Nicole. My name is Mary Poole. I'm with the General Services Department. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, Mary.
Yes, great. I joined the collaborative at its inception back in '99, and I've attended regularly ever since, no matter what capacity that I have served with the city. Some of the collaborative members have changed over time, but others like me and Artie, who you'll hear from in a few minutes, have been here since the beginning. And we recognize its value to the community, and we've participated no matter what hat we have worn or are wearing now. We've even had members who have retired or changed organizations, and they've still remained connected to the collaborative, really because of the extensive reach that this group has to the community and to those who serve the community. For me in particular, the various roles with the city, in my various roles with the city, I've benefited from the fact that the collaborative acts as a grants advisory board, as well as a group that serves and represents community members that often don't actively participate in civic activities. So the members of the collaborative know the community, and they're able to advocate for our residents when our residents don't advocate for themselves. So for example, Healthy Cities, many of you are familiar with that, Safe Routes to School. SACOG, our transportation grants like Bike Ped, Mariposa, Safe Routes to School is one really good example. The Comprehensive Transit Plan was another one. Those are just a few of the grants where the collaborative has really been able to provide substantive support and input, as well as targeted outreach to the community. As Nicole mentioned, the collaborative also hosts training and specialized education for our members and expands those opportunities to others, and even community members outside the city in some cases, particularly like with Kevin Bracey, who had a full house, a motivational speaker that was born and raised in Citrus Heights and had a very good story to tell. I'm still inspired by him every day. These education sessions are usually a few hours in time, but they all help us understand our community, or in the case of the grant writing, really helped us as members get our resources together and do a good job of getting grants for our various efforts. Besides these incredible benefits for the city, and particularly the work that we do in general services, I have personally and professionally learned so much. Every collaborative meeting includes a spotlight of a member organization, so we learn about each other's work and how we can leverage and support the work that we all do. Every single meeting, I walk away or as in our last virtual meeting, I continue to sit at my desk, but I learned something new about the incredible work being done by our local nonprofits, school organizations, and other, service organizations that are working out there in the trenches. And I see that our other members making connections with each other that lift and support our mutual efforts. So I've been attending for over 20 years, and I still look forward to every collaborative meeting. And I guess, as you can see, I'm an eternal fan. And with that, I will turn it back over to you.
Great. Thank you, Mary. I'd like to invite Leslie to speak next.
Thank you, Nicole. Good evening, commissioners and Planning Commission. I have to apologize. My camera, for some reason, is not working. I think I would have to shut the whole thing down and then restart. So I'm just going to stay with my connection. But my name is LeslieAdorno de Chasing, and I manage all of the outreach for our residential assistance delivery programs, which encompass, some of you guys may be familiar with EPR, which is our utility discount, MedRate, which is our discount for medical, wheelchairs and electric devices, and then our free weatherization and refrigerator program at SMUD. And we handle a lot of the energy efficiency education that goes out to the community. I have been a part of the Citrus Heights Collaborative for my last 5.5 years at SMUD. But I think SMUD was actually involved since pretty much the beginning, pretty close to 99. And it's really been, what it is it's a social service network. And we have a few of these, that throughout Sacramento, and each one serves a different purpose because Sacramento has, different needs in different areas. And it's really been a way for us to connect with the city of Citrus Heights and really for the underrepresented, community, the hard to reach populations, a lot of the, second language, underdeserved populations. And it's really been a great bridge, as Nicole explained, for communication to build relationships and these partnerships up. And for me, I look at it as the eyes and ears of the community. These are where real stories come out. These are where we meet people, real issues, whether it's the homeless navigators, whether it's public safety issues, whether it's Artie letting us know what the needs are with, homeless students in the school district. And SMUD has been, we have a lot of different areas, but I also wear a hat at SMUD where I handle community engagement and events. So some of the events that come to mind are Sunday Fun Day. We've done quite a few senior fairs. We've had, recipients to our Shine Grant that are, from sustainable communities applying for Shine Grant, which are nonprofit grants at SMUD. Student Connect is another event that comes to mind. Artie will tell you a little bit about that, but we've been able to help sponsor some of these great events that, Citrus Heights has. And we also send our energy specialists that actually go into the homes of a lot of these low-income families and do energy audits. And so it really, for SMUD, it helps us to connect better face-to-face with our customers that are most in need. And so for me, it's a huge benefit. I want to share one quick story, before I go. And I met a lady and her partner. Her name is Elena Thomason, and she has an organization that is called Equal Access. She's actually blind, and her partner is almost completely blind, but they take public transportation. They're Citrus Heights residents, and they are just wonderful. They have been coming to the collaborative for years. And she started by asking, Leslie, how come we don't have any brochures or anything like that in Braille, And so I started to work with her, and I said, Elena, do you mind, coming into SMUD to talk to some of our diversity HR, reps to see how we can better fit into the blind community. And so she's going to be doing some trainings. This happened right before COVID, but hopefully after COVID, she'll be coming in to do some diversity trainings for us, as employees at SMUD to see how we can better connect with the community. So anyway, just a couple of great examples of, you know, my experiences in working with Nicole, and Sharon was here before, you know, but they're doing a really good job at just, we don't just make an agenda. At the end of the year, people kind of discuss and see what the needs are. And then we try to bring those presenters and those services to the community. So anyway, that has been my wonderful experience working with, you know, the Citrus Heights Collaborative. And I think we just all look forward to seeing each other, you know, in person on those Fridays. And it's just really been a great experience. So thank you all for, you know, your service that you're doing as well in Citrus Heights. And we're just really thrilled to be a part of the Citrus Heights Collaborative.
Thank you, Leslie. Next, I'd like to invite Artie to speak.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? I have a big sign posted on the microwave, so if I hope I don't lose you. We'll just start with a little overview. My name's Artie Ferris, and I'm one of 3 McKinney-Vento homeless liaisons in the San Juan School District. You know, we have about 40,000 students, of which about 3,000 have been identified lacking a regular, adequate nighttime residence. I primarily serve Citrus Heights, Fair Oaks, and Orangevale. Of course, Citrus Heights is my favorite. I do work out of San Juan High School. Our program is probably 800 students in Citrus Heights. We have been having a little trouble identifying people because it's been hard to connect with people. Our population is a little bit mobile. They've had decisions to make, and you know, things change, and plans are uncertain in some cases. But most of the families in the area are either doubled or tripled up with families, relatives, elder brothers and sisters, aunts or uncles. We do have some kids who couch surf, whose parents are just not in the picture anymore. And we also have quite a few people living in the hotels in Roseville area, or they live in some of the hotels across the freeway out Madison, across Freeway 80. And then we do have, are you familiar with Harmony House, the domestic violence shelter in Citrus Heights? We do have, right now I have 2 families there. And then sometimes we do have people in vehicles. I had 2 people in vehicles to start the year, and right now the kids are back in housing, and 1 family actually found housing. Why, you might ask, and being the commission, maybe you know some of these things, why people lose their housing. People get divorced, they lose their jobs, they may have landlord issues, domestic violence, there may be substance abuse, other kinds of serious illness, death, mental illness, floods. We have people come to the area from having been flooded out of other areas, forest fires, or even house fires. So those are the key reasons that people end up without adequate residence. And of course, with the low vacant are to find those people and identify them, and then make sure they get in school regardless of the fact of whether they have an address or not. You know, most of us, if you live on, I don't know, Indian River Way, you know, you're going to go to, say, San Juan High School. Well, if you don't have an address, then where do you go? Or if you lose your address, then where can you go to school now? So we have a thing called School of Origin, which ensures that if you lose your housing while you're in school, you get to stay at the school where you've been going to ensure continuity. That's one of the most important things we do. And then we help people get back their birth certificates, immunization records. We help with shots, and a lot of other things that I'm not going to go into tonight. It's really important that these kids have the same appropriate access to their education, whether that be special education, GATE, English language learning, or other things, as well as extracurricular activities. And I've got to say, the Citrus Heights community really supports these kids in getting that access, especially the extracurricular stuff. You know, shout out to San Juan alumni for all they do to help their kids participate. And we do a lot of referrals. So within that referrals, we're always doing outreach to families, to staff, to the community, so that people know what our program is. And so we know what other people have to offer, so we can blend it together. Some of the things we do also is if a student changes high schools after the 10th grade and they're really behind in credits, like we'll have kids that go out of the country or out of the state, and their parents never get them enrolled where they went. So they come back and they've missed 3/4 of 9th grade. And, you know, they hop to Mesa and that doesn't work out. And then they end up over at San Juan or Bella Vista or something. We will take credits off their plate so they can get done and graduate. You know, anything you do, pretty much you're going to be going to junior college. You're going to be taking math again, history again, all those core subjects. So we make sure they have the core subjects and move them on so that they don't become hopeless or frustrated. I mean, some of these kids really have some pretty big disadvantages. We attend hearings for attendance, for behavior. You know, you may have heard of SARB hearings that are around attendance, or say a student's going to be expelled, then we are there to advocate for him and make sure the family understands the process. We also provide a lot of RT vouchers, and Smart Ride was the best thing that ever happened in Citrus Heights. We also find bikes. We do food, clothing, school supplies, backpacks, many things like this. So way back in 1999, when I was like 2 years old, we had started studying asset-based development, which was, you know, in the old days, you go, well, what's wrong with this kid? Oh, he's using drugs. Boy, that's bad. You know, we need to put him in treatment. Well, we kind of flipped the paradigm to look at what was right with this kid. He might have been having a problem, but he was coming to school every day. He might have been having a problem, but he volunteered. He might have been having a problem, but he lived with his parents and wasn't getting arrested. So there was a whole big movement to look at what's right with things. And so that was the asset-based or the resiliency theory. So Mary and other people from the city and me and the people from the prevention office, they put us all on a plane. I think everybody was on the same plane and flew us to San Diego. And we had this intensive, like 4-day seminar on all this stuff. And when we came back, Kathy Capriola, who was the original facilitator, convened partners to like talk about this. And that's really where the collaborative was born. And it was a beautiful thing because I don't know, Mary, maybe there were 100 people in the room the first day. It was in the old boardroom at Fountain Square, and they had to keep bringing in chairs and people were sitting at the board seats. It was really cool. And so as things went on, we were looking for positive things that would develop the community, that would develop people, because this is preaching to the choir, but you all know that if we have strong families and we have successful kids who are capable, they're going to contribute that right back to their community. Sure, they may go to Chico or Sac State or Berkeley, but where are they coming back to? They're coming back to Citrus Heights, and that's where their roots are. So investing in our families and kids is a really good thing. So I think you guys mentioned almost everything I have on my list. One of the things is the city council, after hearing about the Bridges After School program, actually for several years, maybe as much as 5 years, contributed funding to the after school programs. Every single school in Citrus Heights had after school funding, which is a big deal. So that was maybe 80 to 100 kids in each school from 3 to 6 having meaningful engagement, social skills, and homework time and physical activity. On top of that, there were tutoring and different things. Let's see, what else? Oh, and then the collaborative also served as an advisory board for the tobacco use prevention education grants that the district have, very large grants. So that's just a few of the things. Right when COVID hit, the library and I were talking about how we were going to have dinners for kids that went to the library on Wednesdays and did their homework and got help. And, you know, then that was that. We were all sent home. One of the things that Kathy always asked that I was always so impressed with and that really brought a lot of reflection and discussion was she would always say, wow, that's a great presentation. How can the city help you with that? How can the people in this collaborative meet that objective? And, you know, it was always, oh, well, I came to tell you about my stuff and you're going to help me too. That, you know, and it was just really, it was really a great dynamic. And then Sharon isn't here tonight, but she facilitated for a good number of years. And one of the times we had a homeless workshop and everybody was so impassioned with that people go, well, we need to talk about this more. We need to get together. So Ken Bennett from Sacramento Self-Help Housing got together with Sharon and we planned an extra meeting. Well, 5 months later, I'm sure you've heard of Citrus Heights Heart. We had our first meeting with Citrus Heights Heart. Now, mind you, this is all from the collaborative. This is all offline from our regular everyday work. I mean, a lot of it crossed over into our work, but this is completely, we're going to form a nonprofit to help homeless people in the area of Citrus Heights. So that resulted in Tony, the homeless navigator, a collaboration with city and PD over that. 10 to 12 weeks of winter shelter for 20 of the most chronically homeless adults in Citrus Heights. Student Connect is something that we had last year, but not this year because of COVID. We had about 300 families and students, over 60 providers. Dignity Health was giving flu shots and physicals. We had food from the Sunrise Christian Food Ministry. Almost every person that belonged to the collaborative came and tabled and provided resources. I said food, right? So all in all, Student Connect wouldn't even have existed. Those people wouldn't even have gotten those resources without the collaborative. So these days, we continue to meet and we have a strong core of people. And really the things I see that the collaborative brings to me is a strong, it's a strong network, a really strong network where we're all connected. It's like a repository for resources. We have a good source of volunteers when you plan an activity. It's a place where we can really exchange viewpoints and use others for sounding boards when we're up against issues in our own programs or there's something that's been sensed in the community. And then they talked about the trainings and whatnot. There's always inspiration and there's always kindness. People exchange things, you know, the best part of the meetings after the meeting. A lot of times because you meet in the hallway and exchange cards and the next thing you know, you've got an email with something you need or somebody's like Leslie handed us $2,500 in funding after telling us about a Shine grant that we could get. So to me, who my passion is really helping kids get a good education, the collaborative has done nothing but help those kids and families, and it's done nothing but help me enable me to help bring that to people. So I think everybody's really richer for all our efforts and we really are stronger together, which is cliche now, but you know, in the case of the collaborative it's really true. So thank you for your time and have a good evening.
Great, thank you, Artie. And just want to say a big thank you to Mary and Leslie and Artie for being here tonight and participating in this presentation. You can open that up to any questions for us.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Tim, can you hear me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if I'd muted or not. I started attending the collaborative. I didn't go to a whole lot of meetings, but I was, I think I was attending as a member of the REACH board. originally many years ago, because I remember Kathy had invited me and I attended quite a few of them for about 6 months. And then I got something else and I never went around or never went back, unfortunately. But as our speakers alluded to, the meetings I did attend, I know the close cooperation among the members of the collaborative, as what you ladies did allude to. And it really impressed me on how well different organizations can come together to accomplish the goals necessary to make the city a better place to live in, and to try to solve some of the problems here. As you mentioned, I was unaware of the number of students that were, I don't want to say homeless, but that didn't have a fixed address to call home until that they could call home until just now. It's a shame that that condition does exist. Of course, COVID doesn't help matters anymore either. But I want to thank the three of you that did present your presentation tonight. It was very informative, and I thank you very much for your time to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. We
Right.
appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? So I have I've heard of the collaborative. I really didn't know much about it until tonight. It's very interesting to me. My day job, I administer apprenticeships for manufacturing. The organization I'm with is an alliance of local manufacturers. We just won a $262,000 CARES Act grant from the city of Sacramento. We're building a facility at the Charles H. Jones Center off of Lemon Hill and Stockton Boulevard. And what we're doing, what our real goal is to provide opportunities for people who really don't have the resources necessarily to go to college or don't have an interest in it. And I do think that there's a collaborative that we could share with SVMI and the Citrus Heights Collaborative. I think that and one of my goals certainly is to raise the quality of life here at Citrus Heights, and that's through raising the income. These are very high-paying jobs, very technical jobs. They're a job once you learn the skill, you'll never be looking for work again. And so it is it's really interesting to me. And Mary, I know you're probably the best of the group. I'll probably reach out to you and see what we can do to sort of work together and make some things happen. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you all very much.
All right. So are we ready for the next agenda item?
Next agenda item is going to be housing element overview discussion.
Evening, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. All right. So let's see if this works. And everybody's able to see my screen here?
Yes.
Great. All right. Well, good evening, commissioners. Eric Singer with the Planning Department. Good to see all your faces again after a few seemingly long months away. Tonight, we're going to be going over just giving you kind of a primer for the 2021 housing element update. So just kind of doing some high-level review of why we go through the housing element update process every 8 years. And of course, Casey and I are available to answer any questions along the way. So first off, just a brief overview of what we will be covering. What is the housing element? Reviewing the existing housing element, meaning the period of 2013 to 2021, the policies that have been enacted in the general plan, reviewing accomplishments from this period, and then talking about updates to the next cycle that is going to span from 2021 to 2029. So first off, what is a housing element? It's one of the 7 state required general plan elements. Can anybody name any of the others? I don't blame you if you can't. It's fairly obscure if you're not well versed in general plans. It is the most important of the housing elements because it is one of the only required to be updated every 8 years, and in some cases every 5 years. The housing element plans to provide housing to a variety of income and special needs groups, assesses the housing needs at the local level, and it requires state certification. So why do we update it? Well, we do it to ensure that the policies in the housing element are meeting current community needs and reflecting what the community is asking for. Many funding opportunities and grants that we apply for every year require a state certified housing element, so it's incredibly important to obtain those funds. And it's essential for establishing policies that guide housing to meet both the short-term and the long-term demand for housing in the state and locally in Citrus Heights. So the general requirements, like I mentioned, we have to update the housing element every 8 years. It's reviewed by the State Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD for short. And as I mentioned, we're currently in the 2013 to 2021 cycle. We are currently reviewing the element this is what is required of every element review, but you want to look at the effectiveness of the policies, goals, and actions that are in your housing element, the progress in implementing those goals and policies, and then just overall the appropriateness. So, are certain things not necessary anymore? Have they evolved, to meet with the changing demands of the city and its residents? So looking at just accomplishments from our current element from 2013 to 2021, I think it's safe to say we did have a number of sizable accomplishments that we can point to. Things like zoning code changes that are allowing residential development to occur in commercial zones, specifically in this case, the business professional zone, the creation of the new small lot housing ordinance, the Sunrise Tomorrow specific plan, hopefully, planning moving forward to help redevelop that mall property in the next housing element cycle. And the new Sylvan property that was acquired and hopefully can be developed in a responsible way. The rental housing inspection program, mobile home repair program, updates to the green building code that Citrus Heights has adopted and been kind of on the forefront of implementing. And then the general plan update that we put into effect to allow 40 units per acre in general commercial zones. So increased density to hopefully help to meet the increased demand for housing in the state. In terms of actual developments, physical developments, the Mitchell Farms subdivision is a great step in the right direction towards a significant amount of new housing that was entitled during this housing period, and the majority of which will be likely counted towards the numbers for the next housing element. The same goes with the 5555 Mariposa project, also known as Northridge Grove. Sunrise Point, which is the first almost entirely low-income housing development that the city has seen in quite some time. The Bear Paw Apartments and the Fair Oaks Senior Housing Community. Now, again, the majority of these are units that will be probably counted towards the next housing element cycle. However, all of them received their entitlements during this housing element cycle. So we can, still point to them as a great accomplishment in terms of developments.
I would just real quick, Eric, I would just chime in that, it just goes to show, comes full circle, seeing that you guys all have touched at least one or if not more of those throughout your 10 years planning commissioners, and kind of comes full circle about how important this is because it really meets the objectives that we're required to meet by the state. So just wanted to point that out.
Very good point, Casey. Thanks for pointing that out. So moving forward, looking at some of the challenges and the opportunities for the next housing element cycle, the biggest one that stands out in our minds is obviously the one that's affected everyone, COVID. It's very difficult during this period to conduct community outreach and try to touch base with members of our community and get a finger on the pulse of what they need and the challenges that they're facing individually. We are going to be making a concerted effort over the next month to 2 months to try to do as much community outreach as possible and to incorporate that as much as possible into the changes and the revisions that we're going to be making to the new housing element. And then, a couple of, the lack of land issue has been the case here in Citrus Heights now for some time, with 98% of the city more or less being built out. We're having to find more and more creative ways of, establishing where the development is going to occur. So with something like the Sunrise Tomorrow specific plan, that gives us a great opportunity to capitalize on an existing site that was developed previously, but can now be utilized, hopefully moving forward, to accommodate a chunk of the number that, of housing units that we're trying to build in the next 8 years. The SB 743, the law that was passed that went into effect this year about vehicle miles traveled, that's a change in the way that traffic studies are essentially conducted. Not to get too mired in the technical aspect of it, but it is having a significant effect on the way in which developers are able to plan out a number of facets of their developments. And we're trying to reckon with that now and how that's going to essentially play out over the next 8 years. But on the flip side of the challenges that we've been facing, we do have a number of new opportunities that we can take advantage of. A lot of new housing laws have been passed in the past few years that are incentivizing housing as much as possible, especially when it comes to accessory dwelling units. I think one of the greatest benefits that we can glean from having a relatively built out city is that we still have a lot of potential on our residentially developed land for a good number of accessory dwelling units to be built. And we've seen, even in just the last 2 years, a significant uptick in the amount of ADUs that are permitted every single year. And we can hope that that number will continue to, if not at least sustain, grow year over year for the next 8 years. And last but not least, luckily, interest rates are still low. So development is relatively incentivized in the city. Not to get, again, too technical, but that is something that we can try to hopefully take advantage of over the coming element update cycle here. So looking at the components of the housing element, first off, there's a needs assessment that's done. So one, the growth needs, so literally how many units are allocated to the city of Citrus Heights that are required to be built over the next 8-year period, and split even further to, what degree do we need to accommodate housing for each of the special needs groups that are listed below. So people with disabilities, the elderly, large households of 5+ person homes, farm workers, homeless, and female-headed households. These are all demographics that we have to take into account every time we're doing our needs assessment and understanding what the trends have been in terms of growth or change, or how this population is affected and has been affected over the last housing element cycle, so that we can hopefully help to predict maybe some new policies or changes that we can enact that will help them in the coming housing element cycle. Another way that we have to do, to take stock essentially of our available land and the way in which we're going to be able to develop, is through the use of this vacant land inventory. Now, the inventory of vacant land is, again, challenging in a city like Citrus Heights that has a significant amount built out. But what we're trying to establish is what parcels are available, or what parcels are in the pipeline, maybe that have already been entitled or have the potential to be developed further, given the right circumstances. These will be counted towards the housing units of the next element if their final building inspection occurs after May 31st of next year. So, like I mentioned, a good number of projects like Mitchell, like Sunrise Point, they will be considered in that next housing element update cycle, because we have a fairly good idea that their building permit finals won't occur until after that May 31st date of next year. Additionally, this vacant land inventory is looking at, just existing constraints and the trends in development. Where is the development occurring? What type of development is occurring along certain corridors or in certain places? And ultimately, we just have a final number of the the amount of parcels, vacant parcels, underutilized parcels that could potentially be developed moving forward. And this is part of what gets reported back to HCD. So again, reviewing the housing element's past performance, we need to look at the performance of each goal, policy, and policy action. We have to essentially submit a red line strikeout version, not to, again, get too much in the weeds, but HCD needs to see what the old language was versus how we are planning on changing it. So are we revising the language of it? Are we modifying? Are we adding, changing, deleting? So that they understand that we're keeping up with the trends of development in the city and the current needs. And ultimately, it's to try to accommodate our rapidly continuously growing population. So California Department of Finance's projections for 2050 show that California's expected population is to be about 45 million. That's, in my mind, a bit conservative. I've heard estimates as high as 50, could be anywhere in that range. Sacramento County, it's in continuous growth over the last 20 years. So their projected population for 2050 is 1.88 million. I've heard projections of over 2 million. So again, Citrus Heights is, having to shoulder our fair share of that housing development to accommodate this growing population. So the way it works is HCD is essentially issuing, these are the RENA numbers to each of the different COGs, each of the different councils of government around California. And each council of government, in our case, SACOG, is the one who develops a methodology that allocates the number of units to each city within their respective region. Each agency, in our case, each jurisdiction or city or county or whoever, must demonstrate that they can accommodate the RENA numbers through the use of this vacant land inventory, or essentially showing that we have the land or the potential available to meet the numbers that they're asking us to meet.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead, Case.
I would just chime in. It's very important to distinguish that we only have to allocate land. We have to demonstrate we have that land. The city is not a developer. We're not responsible for building those units. It's just we have to demonstrate we have available land to accommodate this number that Eric's about to show you.
Very important distinction to make. Yes, thank you for pointing that out. So our total number of units that we've been allocated for this upcoming cycle of 2021 to 2029 is 697. The breakdown that you see here is, a certain number of units have to be allocated to different income categories. So this is all based off the median family income for Sacramento County, which in this case is $63,902. So as you can see in the breakdown here, approximately 130 to 150 units need to be in the 130 need to be in the very low income category, meaning people that are making 30 to 50% of the median family income. These units have to be affordable to that group. Same goes for low, moderate, above moderate, et cetera. If you have any questions about how this breakdown works, SACOG and we as well actually have a good amount of literature on how these numbers are derived and how they correspond to essentially meeting fair housing needs for the different regions. So accommodating these numbers, again, like we mentioned, we need to demonstrate that we have the adequate land via that vacant land inventory. And as I've mentioned, again, several projects and areas that, are rapidly in the pipeline, showing we can provide a significant chunk of this RENA by just knowing that we have the entitlements or the plans that we're moving forward with. Places like the Auburn Boulevard specific plan that outlines a certain number of units that can be potentially developed in the corridor. Mitchell Village, Sunrise Tomorrow, the mall. ADUs are actually going to provide hopefully a fairly significant chunk of this number. The Northridge Grove development. So we believe we're in a strong position to show HCD that we have the available not just vacant land, but the potential new development that will accommodate these numbers. So last but not least, just moving forward, this is the tentative schedule that we're looking at. October is going to be comprised of finishing up the background report work and the vacant land inventory, and then simultaneously also doing community outreach events, via Zoom, just trying to reach people as best we can, and in conjunction with a survey, trying to glean what the community is facing, some of the challenges they're facing, some of the developments or trends or things that they would like to chime in on. And by December, we're hoping to come back to the commission and to have all of the revisions, the changes, everything that we've done be approved by you, followed by the city council in January. Once that initial approval is granted, HCD has a 90-day period in which they can review our initial submittal to make sure that we're not missing anything important, that we've covered all the bases, and that they can accept, essentially the vacant land inventory that we've put forth. And that will come back to the city council in April for official adoption, and then we will send that final draft to HCD for certification before the May deadline. So that is the housing element update in a nutshell. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for staff?
I do. So, does the land, in order to be considered vacant, if let's say that I had a piece of property that I had a home on that had 50 acres, would that be considered vacant?
Unfortunately not. HCD has actually, in the most recent housing element update, enacted a few changes in the previous element that could potentially be considered vacant. You would, I guess, have to show that it was not being actively used. Casey might be able to elaborate a little bit more on that, but I know that for this particular element, the land has to be completely vacant of any structure. And that's unfortunately been a craw, I think, in several jurisdictions' sides, but fortunately, we're still able to meet our numbers without having to show X amount of properties being 100% vacant, if that makes sense.
So what about properties? Sorry.
Yeah, so HCD will let you count that as underutilized if you can demonstrate you have a track record of turning those over into more intensive developments. So, and then if you had the policy supportive of that, for example, the Sunrise Tomorrow specific plan, yeah, there's a giant 1 million square foot mall, but we have a plan in place in the works that will facilitate that type of development. So that's what they're looking for. They're looking for not having empty promises. They want some substance behind it to make sure that you are moving forward towards building housing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you. That's all I had. Any other commissioners that have any clarifying questions or questions about the? Thank you very much, Eric. Appreciate it. Nicely done.
Okay,
Thanks very much.
I got unmuted. Casey, before you go off, I really appreciate you bringing this back to us in December. Unfortunately, come January, I think you're going to have possibly 4 new board members on the Planning Commission. So I guess any decision that would be made, you might have to go through this again.
That's okay. The more education we can do around it, the better. As long as those who are remaining aren't bored, that's good.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the important thing.
Thank you for your presentation, Eric.
Thanks very much, everyone.
All right, may I have the next item, please?
Planning manager items. Casey, do you have anything you wanted to add?
No, thank you.
May I have the next item, please?
That's it, Chair.
Okay, with that, it is 8:16 on 9/23. I'm going to call this meeting adjourned. Thank you so much for all of your hard work here, and appreciate the time you've taken with us.
Thank you all for your patience.
Thank you all for your patience.
Have a great night, you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.